Margot, everyone is hunkering down at home because of the ice storm. The Christmas dinner has been called off. Take care of yourself, my mother's message conveyed. Disappointment washed over me as I gazed at my phone, yet I grasped the reality of the situation. After all, winters in Nashville can be perilous. Little did I realize at the time that this seemingly innocuous message would expose a web of familial deceit and alter the course of my existence irrevocably. Margot is my name, and I am 32 years old. I am an accountant, and until last Christmas, I believed I was merely the odd one out in my family. The reserved, ambition-driven sister who seemed to stand apart from the boisterous, convivial gatherings of the family. My younger sister Isla was perpetually the shining star, the one who seemed to embody perfection in the eyes of our parents. On that Christmas morning, I found myself embracing a serene day of solitude. I prepared a warm cup of hot chocolate, set the scene with holiday films, and endeavored to maintain a sense of optimism in the face of solitude. As the clock struck 3, I found myself lost in the endless scroll of Instagram, when suddenly, my heart seized in an unexpected moment. There it stood, a new entry from my cousin Kelsey. A flawless Christmas gathering at Isla's, feeling truly grateful to have everyone united, time-honored customs, festive holiday feast. The photograph captured my whole family, mother, father, aunts, Stevens, cousins, and even my grandmother, surrounding Isla's exquisite dining table. They beamed with joy, adorned in their cheerful sweaters, fully immersed in the celebration from which I had been intentionally left out. In the photographs, the windows revealed a panorama of clear, sunlit skies. An ice storm did not occur. There had never been. My hands trembled as I navigated through an array of photographs. There stood my father, expertly carving the turkey, while my mother meticulously arranged her renowned Christmas cookies, and my little nieces and nephews eagerly tore into their presents. The ice storm alibi was nothing more than a clever ruse, a convenient falsehood crafted to spare them the discomfort of admitting I was unwelcome at their idyllic family gathering. A wave of nausea washed over me as the reality settled in. Every instance they informed me of cancellations, every close-knit gathering from which I had been excluded. How many of those events transpired in my absence? For how long had they been orchestrating their plans in secret, feigning concern while deliberately leaving me out? As dawn broke, the sound of my phone pierced the stillness of the morning. She carried on as though the world around her remained untouched, my mother embodying a facade of normalcy. Hello, darling. I trust your Christmas was peaceful and enjoyable. Your absence was felt. The nonchalant harshness of her words caused my hands to ball into fists. This was the moment when everything would shift, though I remained unaware of it at the time. In the embrace of our family home, I endeavored to embody the ideal of a good daughter. I assisted my mother with household tasks, upheld a perfect academic record, and ultimately sacrificed my aspiration of enrolling in art school to follow a path in accounting, as my parents believed it to be the more sensible choice. In the meantime, my sister Isla had the freedom to pursue her desires without restraint. When she left college to pursue a path as a yoga instructor, my parents deemed her courageous. In my efforts to assist them with their mortgage, I toiled through countless hours of overtime, yet my contributions went largely unnoticed. There is a specific moment etched in my memory that ought to have illuminated my understanding much earlier. 3 years prior, when my father required surgery, I dedicated 3 weeks away from work to assist in his care. I prepared meals, tidied up, chauffeured him to his appointments, and oversaw his medications. Isla made her appearance, lingering for just an hour as she snapped selfies with him for her social media feed, before departing with the excuse of a yoga retreat. In the narrative spun by my parents, Isla emerges as the devoted daughter, while I find myself portrayed as merely fulfilling the barest of expectations. My extended family left much to be desired. At each family gathering, my aunts would extol Isla's vibrant free spirit, all the while inquiring when I might finally let go and embrace the joys of life. My achievements at work were brushed aside as mundane, while Isla's recent escapade teaching yoga in Bali became the centerpiece of every family gathering. I repeatedly reassured myself that it was inconsequential, that family is family, and they held affection for me in their unique manner. Just last month, I dedicated countless hours to assist my mom in preparing for Thanksgiving, only to hear her proclaim to everyone that Isla had done all the work while I merely sat idly by. I swallowed my pain and remained silent, as I always did. Upon Isla's announcement that she would be hosting Christmas this year, I eagerly volunteered to assist with the planning and cooking. She dismissed my concerns, insisting that she desired nothing less than perfection. I ought to have recognized the clues back then, yet I was desperately clinging to the illusion of our blissful family. Throughout my life, I have tirelessly sought their approval, crafting justifications for their actions, and feigning ignorance when I was left out of impromptu family gatherings that everyone else seemed to be aware of. I persuaded myself that with greater effort, longer hours, and more dedication, they would eventually recognize my worthiness to belong in their ideal family portrait. Hello dear, I trust your Christmas was peaceful and serene. We certainly felt your absence. The artificial cheerfulness of my mother churned my stomach. I clutched my phone with increasing intensity, my gaze fixed on the Instagram photos displayed on my laptop, testaments to their flawless family gathering from which I had been pointedly omitted. Indeed, I succeeded in maintaining a steady tone in my voice. Kelsey's social media posts depict a joyous gathering at Isla's house, a celebration enjoyed by everyone, that is, except for me. The stillness on the other end was overwhelming. I could nearly envision my mother's face, that unmistakable look she wears when she's been discovered in a falsehood yet is already crafting her justifications. Oh, well, she hesitated. Isla pulled everything together at the last moment, and you know how you tend to be at social events, always so reserved, creating an air of discomfort for those around you. We merely contemplated. What was on your mind? I applied pressure. So, you believe it would be preferable to deceive me? To have me celebrate Christmas in solitude while feigning that others were experiencing the same fate? Please, don't be so dramatic, my mother sighed. We endeavored to sidestep any semblance of awkwardness. After all, Isla had her heart set on perfection. In that moment, it all became clear, the memories of past events that never came to fruition, the inexplicable cancellations, and the family photos that would later populate my social media feed. This was not merely an isolated incident, it was a recurring theme. How often does it happen? I inquired, my voice scarcely rising above a whisper. What other gatherings have you deceived me about? A silence that speaks volumes. Then, Margot, you seem to be taking things a bit too personally. This is precisely the reason why. What is the reason behind this? I severed our connection. What is the reason for my exclusion? Why do you act as though I am invisible until you require something from me? Why does Isla embody the ideal daughter while I am regarded as a mere inconvenience? That's not fair, my mother exclaimed in protest. Our affection for you both is unwavering and balanced. It is merely. Isla strives to integrate herself into the family. Your schedule is perpetually filled with work commitments. I let out a harsh, mirthless laugh. Engaged in your professional endeavors? Are you referring to being occupied with managing your mortgage payments? Engaged in looking after my father following his surgery? Is it that sort of busy? Hearken, my mother's tone grew serious. If this is how things are going to be, perhaps it would be wise for us to take a step back and allow some distance between us. Reach out when you're prepared to engage in a rational discussion. The connection was abruptly severed. I found myself gazing at my phone, as 3 decades of memories crystallized into a vivid, aching clarity. Each excuse, each dismissal, each misunderstanding, it had all been deliberate. The issue did not lie with me. I had never been. That was the moment I ceased to offer justifications on their behalf. At last, I beheld the undeniable truth. I found myself without a family. There were those who bore my blood, yet they regarded me as a mere afterthought. Following that phone call, a shift occurred within me. I had reached my limit of being the family's doormat. As I lifted the lid of my laptop, I began to compose a message destined for the eyes of my whole family. Family, parents, sister, aunts, Stephen, cousins, everyone gathered around that Christmas dinner. My fingers danced over the keyboard, releasing years of suppressed emotions in a torrent. I have perused the images captured during the Christmas dinner, I noted. The dinner, I was informed, was called off because of a fictitious ice storm. I wish to convey to each of you the full extent of your actions. You didn't merely leave me out of a family gathering. You orchestrated a complex deception to ensure I spent Christmas in solitude. I have included screenshots of my mother's time at home. It seems everyone is sharing similar experiences, with text messages complimenting the social media photos that capture their celebrations. I pressed send before I had the chance to reconsider my decision. Almost immediately, the responses began to pour in. Nancy Marie insisted that they had neglected to inform me about the change in plans. Stephen Robert implied that I was perhaps exaggerating my response. Kelsey, my cousin, who had unveiled their deception through her posts, swiftly removed all the Christmas photos and messaged me, claiming I was the source of unnecessary drama. At that moment, Isla replied, an extended, patronizing message regarding my perceived lack of effort at family gatherings, expressing her desire for just one flawless holiday experience. She had the nerve to propose that my exclusion was in my best interest, as if I clearly derive no pleasure from family gatherings. Yet, it was the response of my parents that revealed their true selves to me. Rather than expressing regret, they chose to strike back. My mother began reaching out to our mutual family friends, weaving a narrative about how I was experiencing some kind of breakdown. My father dispatched a serious email regarding the importance of upholding family privacy, emphasizing that exposing our personal matters to the outside world is simply not permissible. You've truly crossed a line this time, Isla texted me. Mother weeps, emotions run high, and it all stems from your inability to acknowledge that perhaps you are the source of the issue. This is precisely the reason we preferred your absence during Christmas. It seemed as though I was existing in a parallel universe. They had intentionally left me out and deceived me, yet in a twist of fate, I found myself cast as the villain for revealing their true nature. The more I asserted my own truth, the more they contorted the story. As I stood my ground and declined to offer an apology, the situation intensified. My mother began to appear at my workplace without warning, creating quite the commotion in the lobby. Isla started sharing ambiguous updates on social media, hinting at toxic individuals and her decision to prioritize peace over familial ties. My father warned that I would be excluded from his will if I didn't conform to his expectations. Their actions, rather than instilling fear, merely solidified the truth I had come to understand at last. This was not a nurturing family shielding itself from a challenging individual. This was a corrosive system, clinging to its grip in a futile attempt to dominate someone who had finally broken free from its constraints. I resolved that it was essential for me to go beyond merely unveiling their deceit. I had to liberate myself entirely from their control. Unbeknownst to them, I was meticulously crafting a scheme that would reveal the consequences of alienating the one individual who had consistently stood by their side. A week following my assertive email, an unexpected message arrived from Helen, a longtime family friend who had stepped away from overseeing my parents' finances many years prior. Margot, I've been observing the events unfolding with your family on social media. There is a crucial piece of information you must be aware of. Would it be possible for us to arrange a meeting? I consented to rendezvous with her at a serene cafe nestled in the heart of downtown. Upon my arrival, I found Helen appearing anxious, her fingers tightly grasping a manila envelope. For years, I've been burdened by this guilt, she confessed, pushing the envelope across the table. Your father bound me to silence, yet witnessing the way they are treating you now compels me to speak out. Within the confines of the envelope lay a collection of bank statements and legal documents, their origins tracing back a full 15 years. As I perused the pages, a tremor coursed through my hands. These records reveal that my grandfather had bequeathed a substantial inheritance earmarked for my education and future, almost $300,000, funds I had been completely unaware of. Helen explained quietly that your father held the position of trustee. Access was meant to be granted to you upon your 25th birthday. Instead, he shifted all assets to Isla's accounts, utilizing them to support her way of life and her unsuccessful business endeavors. The revelation struck me with the force of a physical blow. For all those years, I toiled away, putting in extra hours to fund my accounting degree, grappling with the student loans that still loomed over me, and the countless instances I had lent a hand with their mortgage. All along, they had been sitting on my inheritance, using it to indulge Isla. Helen pressed on, revealing further details. Your grandfather bequeathed properties intended for an equal division between you and Isla. All of them were sold by your parents. They had you sign using your power of attorney when you were just 18. Recall the time they claimed it was intended for urgent medical choices? A wave of nausea washed over me. The document I had signed with unwavering trust had bestowed upon them total authority over my financial affairs. They had methodically stripped me of my inheritance, all the while observing my struggles, accepting my assistance with their expenses, and instilling a sense of guilt in me for not contributing enough to the family. Even more troubling, the statements revealed consistent transfers to Islam marked as business investments, funds siphoned from my inheritance to support her yoga studios, her retreats in Bali, and all those escapades they lauded her for while deriding my mundane accounting career. Why reveal this to me at this moment? I inquired of Helen, my voice trembling slightly. I came across your mother's social media posts depicting you as unstable and ungrateful. They seek to undermine your credibility before you have the chance to uncover the truth. For years, Margot, they have been siphoning off your resources. Their actions transcend mere moral failings, they are also in violation of the law. All at once, the pieces fell into place in a dreadful clarity. Their mounting efforts to portray me as the unreasonable one, the veiled threats to exclude me from the will, all while they had already pilfered my rightful inheritance. Their urgent desire to uphold the story that Isla was the triumphant sister, while I was cast as the troublesome one. With meticulous attention, I returned the documents to the envelope, my thoughts swirling in a chaotic dance. Thank you, Helen. I have a clear understanding of my next steps. This had transcended the mere disappointment of a Christmas gone awry. This narrative unfolds over years marked by meticulous deceit and thievery. As an accountant seasoned in the intricate dance of financial fraud detection, I found myself uniquely positioned to ensure they confronted the repercussions of their actions. Armed with Helen's documents, I devoted the following week to carefully constructing my case. In my role as an accountant, I possessed a keen ability to follow the intricate path of the financial flow. Each unauthorized transfer, each abused power of attorney, each forged document, I meticulously documented every detail. I have also engaged the services of Emily Chen, an attorney with expertise in estate fraud, to meticulously examine all the details. Emily confirmed that this is a blatant instance of financial exploitation. If you wish to take that path, we can initiate the filing of criminal charges. I weighed my choices with great deliberation. A criminal case would tarnish my family's reputation, yet they had already shattered our bond. Nevertheless, I resolved to offer them one final opportunity to rectify the situation. I reached out to my parents and Isla via email, proposing a family meeting to address our differences. They seized the opportunity, likely believing they could bend me to their will once more. We settled on gathering at my apartment the next Saturday. On the morning of the meeting, I meticulously arranged 3 folders on my dining table, one designated for each of them. Within each folder lay a comprehensive account of their deceit, accompanied by a letter from my attorney detailing their choices. Return all outstanding funds to me and sign a confession, or you will be confronted with criminal charges. They entered with an air of self-satisfaction, evidently anticipating an apology from me. My mother began right away. Margot, it brings us great joy to see you have finally seen the light. I interrupted her by pushing the folders across the table. Before anyone utters another syllable, I recommend you peruse these. As he perused the documents, the hue vanished from my father's face. Isla's hands began to tremble. My mother endeavored to keep a firm grip on the situation. This is utterly absurd. Are you truly attempting to extort your own family? Coercion? I chuckled with a chill in my voice. I'm presenting you with an option. Restore my inheritance along with the accrued interest and acknowledge your actions, or I will be compelled to involve the authorities. Helen has already consented to provide her testimony. My father began. Helen had no right. You had no right, I interjected. You took from me for years, all the while observing my hardships. You exploited my power of attorney to dispose of property that rightfully belonged to me. Your support of Isla's way of life came at the expense of my inheritance. Isla was overcome with emotion, tears streaming down her face. I was unaware. They claimed the funds were drawn from their savings. I responded with a steady voice, do not deceive me. The funds have been deposited straight into your accounts. You were fully aware of your actions. My mother adopted an alternative method. Consider the impact this will have on the family. What will others think? Perhaps you should have considered the consequences before taking hundreds of thousands of dollars from your own daughter, I replied. The clock is ticking, you have a mere 48 hours to make your choice. Sign the confession and organize the transfers, or I will take this to the authorities. In a frenzy, they rushed out, my father nearly pulling my distraught mother and sister through the doorway. In a matter of hours, the family group chat erupted with a flurry of messages from relatives, each fervently championing their chosen side, naturally. Yet, I maintained my composure. I possessed both truth and evidence as my allies. The ball is now in their court, I informed Emily during our phone conversation that evening. Yet, a nagging intuition suggests that they may not arrive at the correct decision. I stood poised, prepared for whatever lay ahead. Ultimately, they had bestowed upon me the most precious of all gifts, liberation from their control. The 48-hour deadline slipped by, unnoticed. As I anticipated, my family prioritized pride above truthfulness. No confession was signed, nor were any transfers arranged. Rather than facing the truth, they resorted to desperate measures, obliterating evidence, shutting down accounts, shredding crucial documents, and even going so far as to coerce Helen into withdrawing her statement. Unbeknownst to them, I had already delivered all the necessary documents to the authorities. With the dawn of a new day following the expiration of the deadline, I took the decisive step to formally file charges. As the afternoon sun dipped lower in the sky, the police arrived at their doorstep, armed with search warrants. From my office, I observed as the narrative developed before my eyes. My father was led away from his workplace, his wrists bound in handcuffs. Isla's yoga studio was confiscated, deemed an acquisition made with illicitly obtained money. My mother's meticulously crafted online persona shattered when she was taken into custody at one of her charity committee meetings. The family group chat erupted once more, yet this time it carried a distinct tone. Those relatives who had once scoffed at my assertions fell silent as the evidence emerged into the light of public record. A tale unfolded in the local newspaper, chronicling the once esteemed family's descent from their lofty pedestal. The culmination of their years spent upholding flawless facades unraveled in the span of a single day. A message from Helen lit up my phone, its buzz breaking the silence. Your decision was commendable. Your grandfather would surely take pride in this. She was indeed correct. This had transcended the realm of vengeance. The essence of it all revolved around justice. As I observed the intricate web of my family's deceptions come undone, a sense of relief washed over me, devoid of any joy. The truth had emerged at last, and I felt a sense of liberation wash over me. A year had passed, and here I was in my new abode in Denver, gazing out as snowflakes danced gracefully outside my window. The court case had reached its conclusion months prior. Both my father and mother accepted plea deals, committing to pay restitution. Isla's once thriving yoga empire had fallen apart, and she had finally secured a genuine position as a receptionist. The idealized vision of family life they had painstakingly crafted had vanished for good. A significant number of relatives, who had long supported their actions, ceased all communication with me. Yet, to my astonishment, I discovered that their absence didn't leave a void in my heart. In place of what once was, I forged a new support network, authentic friends who cherished truth above all else, colleagues who honored my dedication, and a handful of distant cousins who took the initiative to express remorse for their previous actions. Last week, Helen paid me a visit. As we sipped our coffee, she presented me with an ancient photo album she had unearthed during her office cleanup. Within lay photographs of my grandfather and me, fleeting moments that had nearly slipped from my memory. In a single photograph, he was guiding me in the art of fishing, our laughter echoing over a memory now lost to time. Helen confided in me that he often remarked on your strength. He was aware of their preference for Isla, yet he held on to the belief that you would rise above it. I caressed the photograph softly, recalling the warmth of his gentle smile. He endeavored to safeguard my future with that inheritance, and while it took years to unfold, his ultimate gift bestowed upon me something far more precious than wealth: the bravery to assert myself and the liberty to craft a life according to my own desires. At times, the most profound form of retribution transcends the mere act of settling scores. It revolves around the pursuit of liberation.